And we are live. I am attorney Justin Sterling, a personal injury and business lawyer. This is Coffee with a Lawyer, streaming live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. This is your chance to ask the lawyer your legal questions for free. And it's our chance to connect with you in the online community. This is why we do what we do, to help people improve their lives. Please know that there is no attorney-client relationship and there is no confidentiality here because we are streaming. This is only meant to provide general information and is not specific legal advice. We encourage you to keep questions general and not be specific. If you need to speak about a specific case or specific details, it's best to schedule a confidential consultation with a lawyer. And today we have a few special guests. We have Kitty and Anthony. I'd like to invite Anthony to ask his question first, and then we can get to you, Kitty. And if anyone online has any questions, they can put it in the chat, and I'm happy to get to it. So let's allow Anthony to ask his question first because he signed on first. So
I'm just going to pull out of this tire shop and then I'm listening.
Very good, very good. Feel free to listen in. If you'd like to put anything in the chat, I'll read it. And then I'll call on you, Kitty, to ask the next question.
Awesome.
Thank you, Kitty. Anthony, the floor is yours.
Okay, Justin. Recently, I've been having some success with contests and festivals, submitting them. What are the legal considerations I should have at the top of my mind when submitting to contests and festivals?
Right. First thing is to protect your rights in your work. You want to make sure your work is filed for copyright registration with the U.S. Library of Congress, the U.S. Copyright Office. And you can do that electronically through their electronic copyright application system. You may also want to consider NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. I would encourage you to get as many NDAs as possible. However, because of industry standards, some higher up execs may not be willing to sign an NDA. For example, I know we spoke about Spielberg's company before in the past. They may not be willing to sign an NDA. For those type of situations where the bargaining position's not equal, you may have to succumb to their requests and just go forward with it. However, if that's the case, I would encourage you to create a document trail claiming ownership to your work, and if it's ever used without your permission, that you expect reasonable compensation. As far as submitting it, you're kind of, the bargaining position is not equal because you do not yet have the interest in your work. You're trying to generate the interest. So I would encourage you at the very least to have your copyright registrations. That is the foundation. You want your copyright certificates. That allows you to get into federal court if there's ever an instance of infringement. If someone is using your work, a substantial part of your work without permission, that is infringement. Only the copyright holder has the exclusive right to exploit their work, to distribute their work, to create derivatives from your work, your script. Okay? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
First things first is copyright. That's the foundation.
Okay.
And perhaps while submitting your work, if you're going through markets, film markets, you're going through pitch events, perhaps you may want to go through a representative. In your case, a writer's manager, or a writer's rep can submit your work on their behalf. Just having that third-party middleman serves as protection because that middleman can serve as a witness if there's ever a case of infringement. It's just an added layer of protection. Also, because you're a writer, I would also register your work with the Writers Guild. It's not as formal and it doesn't offer the legal protections as filing for copyright registration. However, it still serves as evidence. It still serves as a third-party evidence base that you can refer to in any case, but it will not allow you to get in federal court. And for these type of matters, copyright infringement, intellectual property matters, the venue is better in federal court. They're more well-versed on the issues. The process is a little bit more formal and it is more efficient as compared to state courts, which are courts of general jurisdictions, and they hear all sorts of matters. Federal court is court of exclusive jurisdiction, and they have exclusive jurisdiction over copyright matters. Federal courts are what we call limited jurisdiction. They have to have the authority to hear the case either through statute or through interstate commerce, matters of interstate commerce by statute, federal statute, or what we call diversity of citizenship, and the amount in controversy being over a certain amount, $75,000 for federal court. I know there's a lot there, but to break it down, first things first, make sure you have your copyright certificates. That is the power. That certificate is the power that allows you to get in the doors of the federal court, which is the venue that you want to be for these particular matters. Because you may be submitting it to production studios or producers that may have more bargaining leverage than you really have to create that document chain, that chain of communication that affirms your right to the work and refer to the work with the details, the specifics of the characters, so that it's ever used in the future, you have that document chain. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's easier said than done. It's easier. In retrospect is always better in hindsight. And a lot of my clients come to me after the fact when there is a dispute, and we could always say you could have, would have, should have. But try your best now. There's really nothing that you can guarantee to avoid acts of infringement, but you just have to document your best. Do you have any follow-up questions?
No, I mean, I usually get copyrights on most of my scripts anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most of my scripts that I put out there are protected to some extent. If they're not a copyright, I do WGA, definitely. And I save the certificates on my hard drive.
Yes. You save the originals. If you can put them in a security box or save them in a safe that you have, put them in a safe place. You have to preserve them for safekeeping because that original certificate is the document that will allow you to get into federal court. And in federal court, you get certain presumptions with that certificate, presumptions of ownership and presumptions that there's some special remedies, legal remedies that you can have when you're in federal court, an injunction and statutory damages, and the possibility to elect for disgorgement of profits versus actual losses. It gets a little technical, but just know with that copyright certificate, you can get into federal court and you get certain legal benefits in terms of the law and legal presumptions and statutory damages as well. And the ability to perhaps at the end recover your attorney's fees, which for these type of matters can add up to be substantial. If anyone is viewing on social media, if they would like to include a question in the chat, I'm happy to get to it. We like to keep these meetings relatively brief so we can start our week on a good start. And so I'd like to also invite Kitty to ask a question. Welcome, Kitty.
Hi, great, awesome. I've been trying to reach you for a moment. I have a situation that I'll try and describe as briefly as possible. That I'm a recording artist, and that I have had 2 record deals, and I've had a bunch of product endorsements, such as Jackson Guitars, Jet City Amps, Pick World Guitars, or Pick World Amps, but Pick Guitar Picks, whatever. I had a makeup endorsement, I had a tequila endorsement, and the biggest show I've ever played was Donington in the UK, and I had a guitar player who was my partner for approximately, I mean, when this all kind of began, about 13 years, and he's in a band called Ugly Kid Joe, and that they're a much bigger band than my band, although, you know, we've had some success, and I had a couple originals on MTV and things like that, but that I started out in Los Angeles. I'm originally from Philadelphia, and I moved to Los Angeles because I wanted to sing, and that I've been singing since the 3rd grade. And at any rate, I used to bartend at the Troubadour when I first moved to Los Angeles, and I had met my manager there. His name was Tom Hazart, and that he had been.
Well, let's try to limit specific names here. We are streaming live, so if we can keep questions general, that'd be best.
Basically, my at the time, and this is going back to like 2005, so I mean, it's a long time ago. He had gotten like 5 bands signed that year, and I was a bartender, and I just thought he was like really cool, and he knew a lot of stuff, and he knew the local scene and all that kind of stuff. And then we've been friends all that time. Like, I mean, I didn't have that much money as like a startup, but I know he was my friend, and that basically, I guess, sort of, I mean, I don't know how to somewhere, you know, we'd had the deals and everything. We were working with, we got a second deal from a man who was very, 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 very wealthy, like Trump kind of wealthy, that was local, who had a real estate company, and that he signed me. He didn't sign my guitarist. He signed me, and that in this particular deal, you know, so at the end of the day, you know, it was a recording contract. It was a 3-part deal. One was tour support. One was to put out my first record, but to do it with like you know, some money behind it. But it had a lot of you know, star names on it that had given time to record the record. And then the last one was to do the new record that everybody said had a bunch of hits on it, and that, you know, everyone's kind of excited about this new record. Well, it ended up that, I guess, one of the girls who was affiliated with my guitar player, they basically hurt me. Like it's a whole big thing. But I ended up being on disability for like 3 years. But the entire time I worked on my music. But that, as somebody who was like, I mean, I'd entered a contest called Playboy Girls of Golf, and like, it was not based on nudity, it was like beauty and personality, and I came in first place for LA. So if you actually go about, you know, trying to cut my face and disfigure me, or cut off my eyelashes, or cut off my hair, like these girls, they had access to me in our rehearsal room, but they were given access by my guitar player, and then they basically went about trying to siphon out all the music, like steal or break the computers, take the drives, steal my phone, steal my computers.
Let me interrupt. All right.
Sure.
Because you bring up a lot of legal issues. Okay. I will say this, and this is an exercise that I have all my clients and prospective clients and anyone that I work with or consult do, is you need to create the chronology. You need to take the time to write it down on the computer, on paper, make it real, a timeline.
I have a timeline.
That's good. That's good. And let me tell you why. First of all, it is an exercise. It's an exercise at getting your story straight. These are difficult stories to tell. They're fact sensitive. There's a lot of things going on. We need to, first of all, create that chronology, get our thoughts down so we can tell the story in a logical manner. And because this chronology will become your factual allegations in any complaint that must be filed. And it is important that we get this information from the client, because only the client knows their facts the best. You live this. This is a matter of first impression to the counsel. So part of our job, part of our challenge is pulling out those facts, reviewing them, reviewing what's the critical, the key facts, and also perhaps how we need to address a certain fact. The law is not black and white. It is gray. And the truth of the matter is, how you frame certain facts, how you phrase certain facts does have an effect. So we have to analyze and evaluate all that. And it all starts with that exercise of getting the story straight. So we have to have the written chronology in a timeline order. Okay. You may already have it, which is great. You're a step ahead of the game, but it should be evaluated by an attorney. Now,
Right.
first things first.
I still.
Yeah, it sounds like you may have a type of tort, injured. Like you said, you were harmed, you were injured. So this
Yes.
possibly could be some kind of tort. However, there's also an overlay with contract law here. You have a lot of different relationships that are at play. You have the tortfeasor, possibly the girls, the wrongdoer. You have this contractual relationship with the recording studio, the producer. You have a recording artist contract. There's a lot of contractual relationships that the contractual terms may control. So we have to evaluate your contracts as well in order to determine if there is possibly a liable party on the theory of what we call respondeat superior for the actions of the actual wrongdoer, the girl. So it gets a little technical in terms of legal theory in presenting the case.
Can I add?
Let me also.
So I do own my.
Go ahead, finish.
I do own my. Do have copyrights, but I also did a 27-song recording with a very famous man who died, and that he actually put together a band called the Runaways. And that I guess there was a girl that worked with my guitar player who had also worked with him, but she was produced by him. But I wrote these songs with him with my guitar player at the time, and this is like going back a long time ago. And then my manager also had wanted them because it was just kind of cool to be able to have this whole bulk of material by this really famous man who put together the Runaways, which of course like Joan Jett, Lita Ford, like one of the quintessential girl bands of all time. So that basically what they did was they created, because I have my legal name, but then I also have my name that I do business under with SAG. And so I'm a SAG recording artist, and I'm listed as a singer under SAG, and I'm ASCAP. And that I do have a publishing company as well. And that they went and they created a new me. Like basically, like if my stage name is Kitty, it's not my real name, but I've earned my name. I had a boyfriend die in 2005, and then my mom died in 1997. And I basically just I've kind of like a Wonder Woman superhero type person. And that was what I was trying to be when I grew up, was this like person who did all these good deeds. And a lot of it is charitable related, like for cancer people, mothers with cancer is like fun because my mom. So anyway, so my phone is doing whatever. Good. Okay, so basically,
Kitty, allow me to interject, because you bring up some legal issues again. And there's a lot of
the big thing.
Yes,
they didn't have a right to recreate me.
Well, hang on.
Hang on.
Hang on. My assistant, my Tanya, is joining. Just also, let's slow down, because
I'm sorry.
At each significant event here, with each relationship, there are legal issues, and I'd like to address them for you. Because your situation seems very fact intensive and fact sensitive, you will be better off with a confidential consultation. There's a lot of things on this public stream that we cannot discuss that we should. All right. So I encourage you to reach out and schedule a confidential consultation with an attorney. Let me address two things. Okay. Actually, three things. Because you're dealing with a lot of contracts, the entertainment industry is contract heavy. Everything is driven by contracts.
Okay.
Remember the policy, RTFD. RTFD. Especially when you're reviewing these documents on your own. And I'll get to that later. Because you should have it, at these points in time, at these significant events of entering a contract, you should have an attorney. Okay, let me get back to that. RTFD. Read the full document. for every contract, every document you sign, you have to read the full document, especially in the contracts in your industry, music and entertainment, because there are provisions at the end that may affect something that you believe that you have the right to in the beginning. And these could be lengthy contracts, so that means page 10 has an impact on what was written on page 1. You have to read the full document. There's many times there are provisions that will contradict, exclude, and including exceptions. So you have to read the full document and understand the deal. Now, let me finish. Whenever you're signing a document, whenever you're signing a contract, those are the times when you really need to proceed with advice of counsel. In your industry, in the entertainment industries, when you are about to sign a document, you should reach out to speak to an entertainment attorney. Because when you sign a document, that is when rights are transferring. Legal rights are being transacted when you sign a document. So you have to be informed on what rights you're giving up and what rights you are obtaining. What is the essence of the deal and what? Yes.
I signed those documents, any documents I signed, like the deal I signed with the very wealthy man was probably like 15, 16, 17 in there. We also had 2 songs on K-Rock, which I guess is pretty important, in 2016, and they listed us as a top indie band going into 2017. And at that point, I'd gotten a contract from a TV show that had been like friends of mine that I actually helped grow the idea of what they were doing. And I gave that to my manager to take a look at. But the scope of our contract was that it ended in 2017. I do have paperwork from him about management that it ended in spring of 17. And then also he'd given me a contract for these songs, with the 27 songs I did with the really famous guy with the Runaways. But
okay, time out. Bring up good points. You bring up some good points, and you have different issues going on. One of the most important provisions in a contract is the termination provision, the exit clause. Not when you're entering the deal, sometimes you're not always thinking about that, but when you enter this deal, you have to think about how can you exit? How does this deal terminate? How does it end? How does it conclude? What are those provisions? And what happens if after the termination date, as written in the contract, you guys continue to work together? What happens then? It can be argued. It can be argued that you have an implied contract. You have a lot of legal issues, Kitty. Especially in your industry, because it's very contract heavy and you're dealing with a lot of rights. And as a creative artist, you're not always informed on your legal rights. And here is the magic formula in your industry that you always must remember when dealing with these industry professionals, when you are contracting. The rights equals the power, and the power equals the ability to monetize. If you're not fully informed on your rights, you may not have the power to make money off of your work. And that's where artists are traditionally taken advantage of. You must remember the rights equals the power, and the power is to make money off of your own intellectual property, your mental labor, your creative works. That is your right. Okay. Kitty, I do want to offer Kitty, you have a lot of legal issues and I would love to talk more, and I'm available, and I'll have my assistant.
Okay.
My Tanya is here. I'll have my assistant reach out to you. I believe if you can message us your contact information in the chat, we'll be happy to reach out. We can schedule a time to speak more, because again, especially in your industry, there's a lot of rights being transacted and you have to be informed on your rights. Artists are traditionally taken advantage of by the business people in the industry. We'll talk more, Kitty, excuse me. Kitty, we have Fran also here, so I'm going to ask if Fran has any questions, before we adjourn for the week. Okay? We'll
Oh, wow.
we'll
So you
continue
do
more.
this every Monday?
Yes, every Monday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We like to keep them brief, relatively about 20 minutes. Sometimes we'll go longer if we have more guests. So I'd like to welcome you to ask any legal question you may have. Keep it general. There is no attorney-client privilege here. There is no attorney-client relationship. There is no confidentiality. We are streaming. So please keep your questions general. And it may be best if you have a specific matter that you schedule a confidential consultation with an attorney. With that being said,
Yeah.
Fran, do you have any legal
Thank
questions?
you. I have so many different ones across so many different just sort of areas. It could never be covered right now, but I'm glad that I found out that you're here. Apparently I just noticed you in my email. I don't know if you just started sending those or whatever, but yeah, I have so many different things.
Well, for this brief time, if you have just one important general question, I'm happy to discuss it. For more specific matters and for more, and for more in-depth consultation, you should schedule a consultation with an attorney to keep it confidential and discuss all your legal issues.
So
But
I'm
go
wondering,
ahead.
so it's you and then you have a lot of people, because I'm wondering how one person can do it across so many different areas.
We stay busy. And we do have many associate attorneys that I work with, local counsel across many jurisdictions, and just a large network of attorneys and legal professionals and very good assistants. My Tanya is here. She's serving an apprentice with our firm, and she's studying to become an attorney in the future. So I'd like
Hi,
to.
good morning.
Hi, Matanya.
How
How are you?
cool.
Yes.
Cool. Apprentice like Kim K?
Well, she's actually taken
Yes.
another. Is she doing the in-office study?
Yes, Kim Kardashian does that.
She is doing the in-office.
So,
I thought she
So
was
the
doing
two,
school
3
study.
years, 2-3 years with you, and then you can take the bar type thing.
First, she has to get past the baby bar. That's her first
Right.
hurdle.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. Now that I know you're here, I know you're a resource. I appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. Feel free to tap in every Monday at the very least to stay accountable.
Thank you so much. I definitely have lots of different things across the board. Thank you.
Well, we're happy to assist. Again, this is general information just for educational purposes.
Yeah.
Because I'm a licensed attorney, we have many responsibilities and duties, and one of those is the duty of confidentiality. And for this platform, there is no confidentiality. So again, if any specific matters, please reach out to an attorney to speak privately.
Yes, I am somewhat versed on a very low level. Thank you.
Well, how can we help you today?
Oh, was that for me too?
Yes.
Or someone else?
Yes. Do you have any questions right now that we may address?
I have just so many. It's hard to pick one. So you are in the state of California.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm licensed in the state of California and also in the federal courts of California, the federal circuit courts, U.S. district courts.
Yeah. I had a thing on a statute of limitations question out of New York City on how long you can take to sue there, but I don't think that's reciprocal, right?
It's not my It's not my jurisdiction. I will say the statute of limitations for any civil tort is controlled by the state law. So you're going to want to research what is the time limit for your certain cause of action. Now there could be you could also assert a different cause of action for the same facts with a different statute of limitations. It could be a federal tort. It all depends on the facts. Each case is dependent on its own facts. So that's one of the most important challenges, is pulling out the key facts, the facts that the case turns on. And you could assert one cause of action, or you could assert another cause of action. You are the master of your complaint, and you pick and choose who you assert your rights against, who the defendant is. So everything must be evaluated. Again, each case is dependent on its own facts. That's why I encourage you to speak confidentially. Statute of limitations. Everything is in the context of time. We're all dealing with time. And even our justice system is limited by time. There are statutes of limitations, the time period for which you can bring your case, your cause of action, assert your rights, or if you do not do so within that time frame, and it is an affirmative defense that the defense must assert in response to your complaint in order to get the case dismissed for statute of limitations. It's not your responsibility. It is the defendant's duty to assert the statute of limitations as a defense to your cause of action, to your claims. With that being said, again, everything is in the context of time. So you have to bring your case within the appropriate time period.
Oh, yeah, that was great. And I know recently some statutes of limitations have been extended for different things having to do with NDAs and harassment sort of things, right?
Well, again, that's not my jurisdiction. I do not practice.
Right.
Yeah, I don't necessarily practice that area of the law. Occasionally, I do take on those type of cases, and I do have associates that are more well versed in sexual torts, sexual assault torts. I believe that's what you're referring to. Something that is a current event in the news is the New York law, which allowed victims of sexual assault torts to bring their cases outside of the statute of limitations period, and that's why you saw we've all observed this wave of civil cases coming in. So you just have to check with your jurisdiction.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess harassment falls under the torts as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
A tort is whenever you suffer an injury or a harm or a loss by someone else's wrongdoing in our civil society based on our standards that we set for ourselves as a community, which is interpreted and spoken to the public through our court decisions, the court opinions, the court rulings. That's how we set our standards. And through the legislature by passing certain laws. That's what our justice system is there for, to set the norms in our civil society and to give us a place to resolve disputes when people breach those duties and obligations set by society. Does that make sense? It's somewhat of a legal, technical answer, but that's how our civil society operates, based on the legislature and the laws that we vote for, and by the court decisions based on our jury verdicts. Verdict means to speak the truth. Verdicta. Okay? So the jury has spoken. The jury, our community, the average members of our society, our community, our local community, have spoken, have decided, have set the norms, and are stating that certain behavior will not be accepted. And based on our right to live within our society, we actually have a contract with each other to not breach our civil norms and standards of safety and of good faith in living amongst our peers.
Wow, I love that. Just as an overview, that was, wow. Have you ever actually negotiated contracts, entertainment
Yes.
contract?
Yes, all the time, all the time. And I don't know if you were logged on earlier, but we spoke to Kitty, and one of the policies about contract review is RTFD, read the full document, because certain provisions at the end could have an impact on what is written and stated in the beginning. Read the full document. And in terms of contract negotiations, it's best to proceed with the advice of counsel, because when you are contracting, when you are entering into an agreement, you are transacting legal rights. And there's certain expectations, and you want to be informed on what you expect to receive and what your legal duties are under this relationship. Each contract must have what we call consideration. Consideration is reciprocal bargained for exchange. It is that which is given for something in return. It is a legal detriment and a legal benefit. And it is reciprocal. It is mutual. Reciprocal bargained for exchange. That reciprocal means it's mutual. There are detriments and benefits flowing both ways. Bargained for means that it was actually negotiated. Okay, it wasn't under duress, it wasn't under fraud, it was negotiated amongst the parties so that there is a clear meeting of the minds, an assent, and there must be an exchange. Reciprocal bargain for exchange is what we define as consideration. You may have heard that term when you are contracting, that every contract must have consideration. That's what we mean by it.
Wow, good answer. I've never heard anyone, answer so completely before. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to be of service, and I'm happy to explain a lot of these situations that everyday people come across and help explain the legal issues and legal ramifications. The way that, certain people deal with each other is not the same way that I would observe a situation, and that's why it's important to have the access to legal counsel so that you're informed at what legal issues are involved and what legal rights are involved. The rights are the power. You have to be informed on your rights because that gives you the power.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
So, guys, we went a little bit longer this Monday, but it was very enjoyable. I really enjoyed getting to know you guys. Please feel free to tap in every Monday. We try to keep it relatively brief so we can get our week started, but this is a good place, a good time to check in and stay accountable, especially if you're dealing with legal issues. And no matter your situation, we're here. We're happy to be of service. So feel free to tap in.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you guys. I want to thank you for attending and say take care and take action. Bye-bye.